let's start with who Katalin is. So, what's your name and what exactly do you do?
Okay. Hi, I'm Katalin Fehér, coming from Hungary, a small country from Central Eastern Europe. And I'm a researcher at my university. My affiliation is at the Ludovika University of Public Service in Hungary. And there was an option to come to work together in teaching and research, and I was very happy to be the part of this story. So I started the work 1 week ago, and I learned a lot about your university, about your country, about your culture, and I'm so happy to be here.
Mm-hmm. Welcome to Kenya. And this brings me to the question of research. I mean, you had the option of doing what we in the media do, covering stories, telling those stories, but you chose to do research. Why research?
Research is very good for curious people. If you have questions all the time, if you want to know more and more about the world, about facts, about interesting trends, this is the best option to find your way in research.
And right now we are talking about artificial intelligence. It is something that to some parts of the world it is relatively new. To other parts of the world it is slightly advanced. Why do you think it is time for the world to stop and focus on what is AI and what is possible to do or what can happen with AI in place?
The original ideas in digitalization and AI started centuries ago. So philosophy was the first hotspot for this. And about 1 century ago, more and more researchers wanted to know about the decoding process. And about 70 years ago, the technology started to be developed to code and decode. That was the very first part for the digitalization. And over the last 10 years, AI developments are emerging rapidly because of not just digitalization, but also the smart devices, the smart technology, the smart services. But if you are connecting the smart services, like a smartphone or a smart service, you will see more complex options for problem solving, for decision making, for predictions. And this way, AI technology can be developed. And the other side of the coin is really important. A lot of people have fear because of this technology, because, for example, the technology can be automate some kind of works. This way people can lose their job, or they are worrying about, for example, the misleading information, spreading misleading information, and so on. So there are a lot of challenges around. But the point is the technology is here over the last decade, growing rapidly, getting to be very, very complex. And not just the robots, the physical robots are available, but also bots by the internet. So if you are using, for example, social media platforms or any other applications or platforms for services, in most of the cases, bots or algorithms are working for you behind the system or in the system. And you can see the results by personalization, with very, very personalized contents, advertisements, and so on. So this is a very new era, not just saying about social media, but for example, recommendation media for you. And also the mass media is changing this way because a lot of things can be automated. For example, you don't need to edit all news by yourself, but you can automate the simple processes, and this way you will have a cost-effective system in media.
Okay, and when you say, for example, recommendations that we come across when we are on social media, I think the social media uptake, for example, in Kenya here is very high, and many people use Facebook, they know Instagram, they know TikTok now,
Yeah, yeah.
they know almost all of it. And essentially, what you are saying is at some point, each and every one of us might have come across artificial intelligence.
Okay, you cannot avoid these systems. You cannot say no for these systems because in this case you are out of the society, out of the culture, out of the business. So you need to adapt the best options for you. And if you are very good at this with awareness, what do you do, what is secure, what is trustable or trustworthy, this way you will be a good user, a future-oriented user, and you can say, okay, I know what are the trustworthy services, what are the most important trends to follow, and this way you can find the good options for you in business, in education, and also in societal programs.
Mm-hmm. And this is one area you have researched on, you have looked deeply into it, you have traveled the world, just speaking about AI and the media. Right now, let's say somebody wants to do research, wants to look into AI, which part of AI do you think maybe is still less researched? What is this interesting part of AI that you would advise somebody to research on right now?
I'm happy to be here at Kenyatta University because I can present the less research part because the mostly research part is computer science and engineering. This is a massive research story. But in social science and humanities, the studies and investigations are merging not so intensively compared to the computer science and engineering, even if the policy making, the business policy, and different kind of NGOs or organizations really needed this. So it's important for them to understand the ethical approach, not just the ethical ones, but also the social issues in case of the usage of AI. So it's really important to understand what kind of biases can be in the system, what can be an harmful content, what can be something which is disinformation, misinformation, deep fakes, and so on. Because if we are just using this technology without thinking about the consequences of the use, we will see a chaos. I heard about a research in Kenya, how the ChatGPT service can be improved by ethical reviews and ethical tests. How can we get input to the machines, to ChatGPT or similar services called generative AI? How can we give inputs to these systems for text generation, image generation, video generation? And after that, with these specific and accurate inputs, we can say, for example, something is harmful, something is risky for the society, something is not so diverse for a culture, and so on. If you have good inputs to the machines, after that the outputs will be more valuable, more understandable, more helpful for the society. If you skip this part, saying, okay, I have a lot of data, I'm just feeding the machine, and I'm not thinking what is the quality of the data, how robust data should we have. Without this thinking, without this fine-tuning, the outputs will be not so nice for the society. Can be risky, can be very harmful, and so on and so forth.
Now, when we talk about data feeding data into something to give this technology, the capability that it has or possesses, then it brings me back to the question, in a layman's language, in a very simple term, how can you describe AI? What basically is this thing?
Okay, very good question, because a lot of lawyers a lot of engineers, a lot of social scientists are just discussing what is AI, because this is a very complex term, and there are more concepts, or many concepts are available. What is AI? Okay, following my approach, I'm teaching, so this is the first part for the students asking what is AI. I'm asking them first, and they're saying robots. This is the first idea in their mind, because robots are visible. The bots in the system, or the algorithms and the data process, these are not so visible for them. So their first example is robot, mostly humanoid robots. However, I'm saying we need two approaches. First, we can talk about the technology. Second, we can talk about the goals of AI. What is technology? Technology is based on data and data processing by algorithms. For example, natural language processing in ChatGPT, how the system can understand the human languages, because the human languages are really, really complex. Or recognition systems. For example, a machine, how can recognize this table, or your glasses, or something like this, or us, or animals, something from the environment. And the third one, tricky one, the machine learning. How the machine can learn. If you want to have an explanation or details, I can add. So machine can learn not just from the data, but we have more options to learn by machines. First, we can add labels to the system. For example, we have objects like table, chair, blah, blah, blah. These are connected to one label. For example, animals to another label, blah, blah, blah. This is more sophisticated. These are just examples. But you can use labels, for example, for target audiences and so on. Young people who want to be reached by a media service, this can be a label. The other one, older people who are interested in a topic, blah, blah, blah. And this way, this is a supervised learning, because you add labels. You want to give additional data to the existing data to say, okay, what is meaningful for me in the input. The second option, no labels, just data around.